Hello, my name is Terry Rickard. I'm a managing partner of Royalty and Streaming Advisors. This video will introduce you to the Rosaval system and give you a look at the problem we solve with this system. Determining the fair market value, or FMV, of commodity financial instruments such as royalties, buyback options on royalties, streaming contracts, and offtake agreements is a notoriously difficult problem. RSA's Rosaval provides a revolutionary solution to this problem. This video introduces Rosaval at an overview level. Royalties on mining, oil and gas, and other commodity projects and operations are ubiquitous in their industries. A royalty provides its owner with an income stream derived from a commodity operation's production. A royalty may have a buyback option, entitling the grantor to buy back a fraction of the royalty over some time period to reduce their royalty payment obligations. Streaming contracts are an attractive means of financing production operations. A streaming company provides an upfront payment to a producer in return for a series of in-kind payments from future production at a reduced or no cost. Offtake agreements are similar to streaming contracts, typically with no upfront payment, but with a commitment to purchase a stream of the commodity at an agreed-upon set of price and quantity terms. Applications for Rosaval include facilitating price negotiations between buyers and sellers of royalties, buyback options, streaming contracts, and offtake agreements. Calibrating the FMV of buyback option premiums versus time to expiration. Addressing what-if pricing issues under conditions of unequal bargaining power and/or variable estimates of uncertain and imprecise information. Identifying overvalued or undervalued instruments for hedge funds and/or arbitrageurs. Supporting accountants, appraisers, and bankers in auditing, advising, and financing of market participants. Supporting investment bankers in assessing mergers or acquisition prospects for clients. Royalty and streaming companies have seen steady growth over the past few decades and are now a multi-tens of billion-dollar industry. Prominent companies in this space include Franco-Nevada, Wheaton Precious Metals, Royal Gold, Osisko Gold Royalties, Prairie Sky Royalty, and Freehold Royalties. There are multiple types of royalties, but all of them entitle the owner to a percentage of proceeds from production, calculated on some basis. For example, in the mining industry, the most common type of royalty is a net smelter return, or NSR royalty, where the basis of the royalty is the price of the product upon delivery, net of smelter costs, the latter being the cost of treating the raw product or its concentrates to produce a refined product. So, for example, a 1% NSR royalty for a gold mine whose commodity price, net of the smelter costs, is $1,800 per ounce, would entitle the royalty owner to a payment of $18 for each ounce of gold produced. Some properties may have multiple royalties, sometimes involving variable terms for each royalty, and sometimes related to different commodities produced by a project. Royalties may come with a buyback option requested by the buyer of a property who has granted a royalty to the seller. However, a buyback option's terms may only be loosely related to the underlying royalty value and often are viewed simply as a deal sweetener due to the lack of a comprehensive valuation method. Royalties, buyback options, streaming contracts, and offtake agreements offer many advantages for a commodity producer. They inherently share risk across the value chain and may reduce the pressure to raise cash, which can be especially valuable in periods when the commodity price declines. They also avoid unattractive dilution of a company's existing shareholders since they do not affect the equity of the company. In all cases, both the owner and a potential buyer need to know the FMV of these agreements for purposes of transaction negotiations, accounting, investment banking, hedging, arbitrage, or other associated financial activities. With virtually all financial instruments, the fundamental basis for determining their FMV is to estimate the net present value of the discounted future cash flows resulting from their ownership. Calculation of this FMV may involve dozens of parameters, including for each period the anticipated production and its associated risks, the appropriate discount factors applied to future payments, and the potential appreciation or depreciation in the value of the commodity itself. Estimating a FMV from these inputs is complicated by the inevitable uncertainty and imprecise knowledge of the factors involved. Industry analysts typically create spreadsheets to model the FMV under a set of single numerical value assumptions for each parameter. They then play what-if games with different choices of parameters, trying to get a feel for the resulting FMV and its sensitivity to their assumptions. In some cases, a Monte Carlo simulation of the FMV may be attempted using specific assumptions about the probability distributions of these parameters. Because of the large number of parameters involved, such simulations require a vast number of sample realizations to be generated. And of course, the results depend critically upon the accuracy of the simulation assumptions. Because of this large number of parameters, both spreadsheeting and Monte Carlo simulation suffer from the so-called curse of dimensionality, which is a critical flaw. As the number of parameters grows, the computational requirements to obtain a reliable estimate of the FMV increases exponentially. While current approaches fall short of properly valuing transactions that have many underlying parameters, RSA's Rosaval provides a novel and rigorous way to account for all the uncertainty and imprecision that characterizes this problem. Rosaval combines the best of human subject matter expertise in different disciplines with sophisticated artificial intelligence techniques to produce a novel and unique evaluation method for estimating the FMV of these instruments. In addition to deriving a full, detailed description of the FMV distribution, we reduce this distribution to an interval range, which is useful for price negotiations between parties, and the center of this range represents a nominal single value estimate for the FMV. And unlike Monte Carlo simulations, our calculation engine only requires a few seconds on a laptop to compute even the most complex of cases. So, how does Rosaval work? The best artificial intelligence systems use human intelligence to supplement the computational power of machines. All the parameters involved in calculating the FMV of a royalty, a buyback option, a streaming contract, or an offtake agreement ultimately must be specified in some manner by human subject matter experts. This means that for production periods of several or more years, dozens of parameters are involved in the calculation of the FMV of these instruments. However, our knowledge of these parameters is inevitably uncertain and imprecise, and since we are estimating future values, even the degree of uncertainty and imprecision in our estimates is unknown. How can we obtain and use data from human experts that accounts for this uncertainty and imprecision? We know that human experts are typically poor at providing precise forecasts for anything, such as the spot price of gold in 5 years will be $2,400. However, human experts are generally confident providing interval range estimates of future values for a given parameter. For example, they might estimate that the price of gold in year 5 will be between $2,200 and $2,600. Different experts will inevitably provide different intervals for any given value. So our best starting point is to collect interval estimates for each parameter from a group of experts, using different types of experts for different parameter categories. Production interval estimates would typically come from experts in geology, engineering, metallurgy, or ESG, and they might start with more detailed interval estimates that are closer to their areas of expertise. For example, the production forecast for a mine in each period would typically involve ore grades, ore production quantities, and metallurgical recovery rates. So, rather than specifying the ultimate quantity of interest, which is production of the commodity, we could solicit interval estimates for each of these lower-level categories. Similar approaches to more detailed modeling of other parameters can also be used. Once we have a set of interval estimates from different human experts for a particular parameter, we can mathematically derive directly a two-dimensional figure known as a footprint of uncertainty, as shown here. A footprint of uncertainty describes both the primary and secondary uncertainty and the degree of imprecision in our knowledge of a parameter. Armed with this rich representation for each parameter, we can calculate the footprint of uncertainty of the FMV, as shown in this figure for a royalty. Finally, a further analytical calculation on the footprint of uncertainty yields an interval range, as shown in the figure, whose lower and upper endpoints represent the spread on reasonable estimates of the FMV. The center of this range is the nominal single value estimate of the FMV. This video has given you an introduction to the features and benefits of our patented Rosaval system. Rosaval is a revolutionary approach to computing the fair market values of commodity financial instruments using the best of human and artificial intelligence. For further information on Rosaval or on the team at RSA, please visit our Contact Us page. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to hearing from you.